Croeso, hello, welcome to Rob, Ryan, Red, the Wrexham podcast brought to you in association, as always, by Red 10 People Development. Now, it might have felt like Wrexham's promotion hopes died a little bit against Wigan last weekend, but it's Easter, the time for resurrection, and on today's podcast, we'll look ahead to Bristol Rovers at home and Blackpool away. And hey, if we need optimism, Nath, by the next time we record the show, Wrexham could be automatically promoted. Is that enough positivity for you, you listening at home? Like I said, on today's show, we'll look ahead to Wrexham's two matches, take a look at the League One table, and query if any changes need to be made. All that and more coming up on today's show.
Rob, Ryan, Red.
So, Nath, Wigan could have been brilliant in the end. It was a bit flat in terms of performance, but like I said, 2 wins could be enough for Wrexham to get promoted to the Championship automatically. It doesn't quite feel like that, maybe today recording it, but stranger things have happened. What's your mood like today in terms of the title race? Oh, not the title race, sorry, the promotion race.
Last week I had boundless optimism. I was drunk with optimism. I was supremely confident. I would say now I'm confident. I'll take away the supremely. I would say I'm still confident that we will get over the line and get up. But you have to face up to the fact that Wigan, that display, and I think, the time for real head loss, if you want to call it, or, kind of forensic analysis of where things have gone wrong is for the end of the season. So, and then we're only 4 games away from that now, hopefully. So I'll park any real kind of judgment, but you have to say that it was a worrying display to the extreme at Wigan. No shots on target, a game where I felt we could have played until we recorded this. We could have kept playing through until then and we probably wouldn't have scored. And with respect, I thought Wigan are just an average League One football team, and yet on the day we were worse. So hopefully that is our Halifax, hopefully that is our Doncaster, or pick a game where we've somehow responded after that, our Reading or whatever, because, particularly going and to watch it as well from a stairwell. It was that busy in the away, and there was no chance of finding any seats by the time we got in. So watching a 0-0 with no shots on target from a stairwell at Wigan, not great.
No, it wasn't the greatest away day. I think there was genuine chatter beforehand when I was chatting to, like you said, yourselves and some of the Manchester Reds, and they were saying, well, it does feel a bit Halifaxy, that the fact it was really sunny, almost felt like it was an away day that couldn't go wrong, and for all those reasons, it did then go wrong. In terms of the performance, you can't take any positives from it, really. A clean sheet, I suppose, is the one that you might point towards. We could easily have lost it. I thought Wigan had some really good chances on the break. One of their wingers in particular tore us to parts down the left-hand side. If he'd squared a pass rather having a shot, he might have got a winner in the second half. And it was another tame and lame performance for me. Parky, once again said that maybe we had a blatant penalty that wasn't awarded. It didn't feel like that whatsoever at the time. I know what he means in terms of maybe the McLean one that we got against Stockport. By those sort of standards, perhaps it could have been a penalty. I'm still not sure. No, I agree on that one. And again, you can't come away from an away game saying the referee or a decision like that was to blame when you've not had a shot on target and you really didn't go for the jugular against what is a poor team in terms of League One this season. And I just felt like it was a huge opportunity missed. I'd also say, though, on the contrary, I felt it was quite a similar performance to the one at Huddersfield away. That day we did get a goal. They missed a great couple of chances to score themselves. And I'm not going to act like suddenly, this is it was a really poor performance because we didn't get the result. But there's been lots of away performances like that this season. But we have got the goal, and that's kind of masked it. Wycombe away was, a better performance, I would say, but another game we could easily have not won. Huddersfield away, I don't think we deserved to win, but we did. So it maybe has been coming for a while, and we always say, as a football cliche, that these things do kind of even out over the course of the season. It felt like we were maybe due a away game where we did come a bit unstuck. But I don't think you need to try and reinvent the wheel or rip things up entirely, because it's still a team that's got us some massive results in recent weeks.
Yeah, I should say congratulations to Owen O'Connell, who got put into the League One Team of the Week on the back of that clean sheet. And Arthur's up to 17. I think personally he's up to 17 clean sheets now, in very strong consideration for Team of the Season, I would have thought. And again, for Player of the Season, we made our case a few weeks ago for Max. I still think that is the case. But yeah, you were looking at the only sort of ray of light I got out of that Wigan performance was Ryan Longman, who at least looked like he was willing to drive at his man and willing to have a go. And I know what you mean. It's a point on the road. It could, if we win the league, if we get promoted by a point now, then you might look back and go, well, actually, quite a good point that, when we should have lost, I thought, on the day to Wigan. And really, we were fortunate to beat them at home as well. Stephen Fletcher bailed us out on that occasion. I just think the most frustrating thing is you're going into some big games now. Yes, we'll be favourites to beat Bristol Rovers. Blackpool away is a very tough game. Then it's Charlton at home, tough game, and Lincoln away. They're all, for various reasons, they're all very tough games. And I think I looked at Sam Smith and I felt sorry for him on Saturday at Wigan, because what was he meant to do? Did he even get a half chance? Did he even get the ball in an area where he was able to try and get a shot off? I thought he wasn't even feeding on scraps. It was the crumbs of the crumbs. I don't know. He had nothing to work with. And I think if you feel Parkinson to come out after and say, I thought we had decent control and I thought we did well for large spells of the game, we must have been watching something different.
I think there's a danger where you can have the ball quite comfortably in midfield. That doesn't mean you're controlling a game. It's similar to us, where there's so many games where we don't have the ball, but we're in control of the game because we're working so well off the ball, and we feel like we've always got the opposition's number. Do you know what I mean? Like, Wrexham at their best are an out of possession team, but they know they contain the threat and hurt someone on the break. And I felt it was the opposite at Wigan, where there was periods where we had the ball, but we just looked so lost for ideas and creativity. But like you said, it's a point. Would have been, a decent point had there not been a goal for Wycombe in the dying moments. And
you knew that was coming. You were looking at your phone going, you said to me, it was with about 5 minutes to go, you said, I'm just waiting for that. Well, I'm paraphrasing, but you said something along the lines of, like, I'm just waiting for that Wycombe goal to go in now. And not because you were willing it in, obviously not, but you just knew that kind of, the pessimist that lives inside you knew that goal was coming, and so it proved. Well, and it really, we were fortunate not to lose the game at Wigan. Let's just be frank. If that player squares it across, it's a tap in for their man, and we don't get the clean sheet, and we've lost and we've not created anything. I just was going to get your thoughts, Rich, on, there was a large number of people that booed the team off at the end, and I don't want to say it was the majority or the minority. It was just a large number, and in a way, I can understand it. The pressure's so high now. Everybody just wants to get promoted, but we're still second. It's still in our own hands. Now is not the time to go into recriminations. I get it was bad on the day, but I think I thought booing them off, I thought was way too strong.
It's one of those, again, where, look, ultimately, headline is, yes, I don't agree with that. I wouldn't have booed them off personally. Truth be told, I left the second that whistle went. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't there long enough to hear the boos myself personally at full time, so I can't comment too much on that in that regard. But in terms of there actual being boos, in the context of the match, you've got the right to, because you've paid the money. Thousands of us have made the journey there, and it's been disappointing. Like I said, it could have been a biblical away day. In the end, it's really not noteworthy of any degree, really. But again, the overarching theme that we have on this podcast is how is the context of the season. It's the rationality that football fans, ourselves included, don't always have. Because of course we would have bitten your arm off. To be third at this stage of the season with no chance of the automatics, we would have been delighted for at the start of the season. So to have to still have it in our hands, you've got to be delighted. But that doesn't mean you can't be critical of what you saw, because it was a very poor performance and it was really lacklustre and uninspiring. And that's valid. You've got to be able to criticise an individual performance in the wider scheme of things. Of course you have. And of course, any of those Wrexham fans at the end of the day would have been delighted with where we are on the table. And even now, to be a point clear with 4 games left and for it to be in your hands, Of course, that's an opportunity we all want. So, yeah, I don't agree with the booing personally, but I do get it in terms of an individual display that wasn't good enough. And I guess that is the positive that we need, Nate. It is in our hands, and we always say that, look, when the stakes are high and when we know we haven't got much margin for error, that is oddly when we do step up to the plate. Maybe it's sometimes when we've got that little bit of comfort. We had a lifeline. Wrexham had a lifeline. We bought ourselves a lifeline on that day where we beat Burton, and now we've used it up. That's it.
And the context is also different because if Wycombe had beaten Shrewsbury as we'd expected, then the way thing then the way it would have gone would have been different. Maybe we'd have beaten Wigan. I don't know what the case would be, but it did remind me a bit of that Doncaster game when I went away there with my sister. That was the start of April 2024. And I think we had the chance to go second that night. We end up losing 1-0. They make a great save. Latutula in goal for them made a brilliant save to deny Stephen Fletcher late on. And you see it in the previous season of the documentary where Parky's so furious about that performance and result that he ends up taking his microphone off and going into the dressing room. And then we rally and we end up getting promoted against Forest Green. And it's just been the anniversary of that, the weekend just gone. And lots of great photos and memories and videos from that day were on social. But Doncaster, that was kind of the kick at the backside, similarly to Halifax in the National League, and it can have a kind of a spurring on effect. I think we've said it for weeks and weeks. It's just about composure now, because I saw a stat that said no team in League One has scored more goals between the 75th minute and the final whistle than Wycombe. So Wycombe are never really losing belief in games, and I'm not saying we are. But it felt like after 20 minutes against Wigan, you just sort of knew it wasn't going to be our day, and the changes weren't going to make a whole amount of difference. And that used to be us in the National League. I think in League Two we were really good, scoring very, very, very late goals.
Even this season, though, we've had some dramatic, especially that festive period.
We have had, but I'm saying that we've got 4 games to go now, and every single minute is an opportunity. And I just hope that we're able to rally them on. If it isn't, a 95th minute winner, because Wycombe had their celebration the other day, beating Stevenage, and who knows, we might get one of our own yet. We might get our own last minute winner against Bristol Rovers or Charlton or Blackpool or Lincoln, whoever it may be. So yeah, last week was Wycombe's down and it was our up. This week roles reversed, and look, 4 games to go. It's still in our hands. That's all that matters. If we finish the Easter weekend with 2 games to go and it's still in our hands, that's got to be the objective. Whatever the results are between the 2 teams, we just have to match their result. That's it.
Yeah, and again, like I said, it's not. I don't think it will happen. But if we win on our next 2 and Wycombe fail to win them, or they lose them both, we'll be promoted on Monday. Do you know what I mean? Like that feels a world away. But similarly, when the Forest Green game happened, and there's a lot more to do this season than that, and of course there's 1 fewer automatic space as well, but things can change so quickly, and we were saying that, look, with 5 minutes to go at Wigan, we could have gone 6 points clear or dropped to 3rd. In the end, we're still second by a point, but those are the permutations, and that's how crazy it is, and there'll be so many moments like that in the weeks ahead. I wouldn't be surprised if we fall to 3rd at some point and then we go back up to 2nd. It is nervy, it's exciting, but we're in the mix. And there's been so many seasons as a Wrexham fan where just nothing's been to play for from about Christmas onwards. So, this is what we wanted. We've got to enjoy the ride now. You can't go to a theme park and complain that the roller coasters are too exciting. Look, we're here now. You've got to just endure it, embrace it, and hope for the best.
Well, I was going to say quickly on that you were talking about we might move around. We kick off at the same time on Good Friday and Easter Monday. So let's just say things are still in play there. Wycombe play at 12:30 against Leyton Orient on the 26th, is it? And we play at 5:30. So, look, it's a race to the finish, as it has been for a number of weeks now, and it's just about holding your nerve. This is what I kept saying for months and months about the hunter and the hunted. It's much more difficult being the hunted because you have something to lose. If the season ends today, Wycombe are not promoted automatically, and so they are able to go for the jugular. If Wrexham win all their games, there's nothing Wycombe could do to get in there now. That's just a fact. If you're Mike Dodds and you're Wycombe, you're saying, all we can do, lads, is handle our results. All we can do is win the games, win our 4 games. And if they go and win their games, congratulations to them. They beat us twice. It is what it is. But if you're Wrexham, you're constantly looking at, and you probably get it from the crowd as well. They sensed in that game against Burton when Wycombe had conceded against Reading, and you kind of get that lift and it makes its way onto the bench. Or Wycombe must have conceded. And no doubt at the end, as they were going, clapping, or in those final few seconds, word had got around that, Wigan fans were saying they realised the exact moment that the away end basically went silent when it was known that Wycombe had scored. So that's what I think. Yes, you're in a position. Wrexham are in the advantageous position, but from a mental point of view and blocking that out, I don't envy. It's a very difficult job.
And we've seen both sides of it, really. Remember in that first takeover season where we were victims of our own success, where we actually made a title challenge against Stockport. They seemed destined to run away with it, and then we came back into the picture and fell flat at the end. But it was only because we'd done so well, and we really relished being the chaser because, like you said, there was so much less pressure on us to actually go and do the job. And right now, Wycombe will be like, well, we've got nothing to lose, and it's easier said than done. Just got to focus on what we are doing. Like you said, if we win 4 games, we are promoted. It is as simple as that. It's as binary as that, regardless of what happens for the Wycombe games and regardless of how many points they might get over that period of time. What I did want to bring you on to, the Nath, because we are reactionary football fans, we're fickle, we ride the wave of emotion, the highs and the lows. After the Wigan game, for me, like I said, we've seen that team get big results in recent weeks, but it did pose the question, do we need to mix it up a bit for the last 4? Or do you think we just stick with the team that's got us here in recent weeks? Do you have any changes you'd like to see made to the Wrexham side, or any that you think are actually viable at this stage of the season?
I think you're not going to get wholesale change at this point in the season, because that I think instills a fear almost into the dressing room that you no longer trust what has got us here. These players, this system has got us here, and now you're panicking. And I don't think Parkinson strikes me as a manager who will panic. 1 or 2 alterations, fine, but I'd say major surgery would be 6, 7, 8 changes. That's just not going to happen. Against Bristol Rovers, I would still go with the same back 3. Whatever we think about, there were some sloppy moments, passes given away. It got a clean sheet again, whether we rode our luck or not. McLean hasn't had his best few games recently, I think, and I would love to see a Longman and a Barnett, but maybe that's a second half, one of them off the bench type scenario. So I'd imagine he'll go with McLean. I hope he goes with Longman again, just because I thought Longman was really good, and it would be harsh, I think, to drop Longman. You're going to go with a similar back 5, but midfield is where I think you need to make a change, and in the summer you need to make multiple significant moves to improve.
Is this the Andy Cannon klaxon again, where we're ruining him?
I still rue that fact, but I'm not even going to bring Andy Cannon up. I brought up even a few weeks ago that it is a maverick like Harry Ashfield on the bench, not one of your better options in the 7. Just as an option to change it, I would have rather seen him come on just to do something a bit different against Wigan at the weekend. But I would say going into that Bristol Rovers game, in which they need to win because they are in the relegation zone now. They haven't got games they can chuck. Points probably won't be enough for them when you've got Burton Albion going on and beating Huddersfield, and they've got a game in hand which is against Wigan at home, I think, in the sort of penultimate game of the season. He's not had his best season, I know, and he would admit that, but I think you've got to go with Elliot Lee as a starter against Bristol Rovers. You've got to do something, and I don't think that something is James and Dobson again. I know there's been some all right moments, Rich. I know there have been of late. Exeter, Cambridge for the most part, I thought they were fine. But let's be realistic. We need, after that no shots on target performance, you need to come out absolutely all guns blazing on Friday, in my
Do you not think
opinion,
that can
and
leave you a
start
bit too
fast.
open in midfield, though? I mean, I fully get what you're saying. I think if I was playing FIFA or Football Manager, I'd be going 4-2-3-1, sexy football. Well, not 4-2-3-1, it'd be five back, sorry. But you'd go in attacking midfielder, you'd go ultra attacking from the off. Does that not leave you a bit too
Got a
open
lot of
to begin with?
defenders though. Do you not think if we've got
But do we not?
say you
But
go with
we've
Matty
already
James,
said.
3 defenders, McLean. It's a lot of defenders there already.
I know, but we've already said how sort of costly dropping points in for a draw is at this stage of the season. Do you not just play your best team, even if it's rather defensive, knowing that that should be enough to control the game against Bristol Rovers, and then just hope that your better attacking players
What?
can then get you the goal you need? You know, you only need to win the game 1-0. We don't
Right.
have to go and win 3 or 4-0 against Bristol Rovers,
I-
because
I-
if we win all our games, goal difference is irrelevant.
I understand that, but my point would be that what happens if we're half an hour in, we're playing hypotheticals now, what happens if we're half an hour in, we haven't tested the Bristol Rovers goalkeeper, and they are the worst form statistically in the division away from home. They've had 3 wins from 21 games away from home. They are on a 6-game losing streak. They've got the player that scored against us, Promise Omachire. He's out injured for the remainder of the season. He caused havoc when he came on. I just wonder that then do the nerves start to kick in the crowd more than anything else, and then does that go onto the players, and therefore then we get to half time. I know I'm playing a doomsday hypothetical, and I'm usually very, very positive. I just think when you're facing a team that's confidence is in the cellar, is in the gutter, why not just come and try to overwhelm them from the off? A quick start, a fast start, and suddenly Bristol Rovers could be down and out before they even realise what the hell is going on.
No, I agree with you. I think it'll be similar to that Burton game, though, where, like I said, I think if we score an early goal, we could get 3 or 4, and it could be a comfortable, nice day, hopefully take players off after the hour mark. That's the ideal situation. I see it being like the Burton game, where it's just really cagey and edgy. Fans maybe start getting all Conquo's back when they realise he can't kick it straight. It can turn a bit hostile, and you can have that thought in the player's head. It's just because there's so much more at stake. And I know you say, look, Bristol Rovers are the worst statistical team on recent form in the league, and they're a team we should be beating. But that's almost like the perfect mantra for them. They're going into a away game in which is quite a fierce rivalry. Traditionally as well as against Bristol Rovers. And they can just come to try to spoil the party. They've almost got nothing to lose. I know they've got their place in the league at stake, but when they would have been plotting their season, Wrexham away is not a game they'd say, well, that's 3 points there. So they can almost come and just do what they like. I just think it's too dangerous for us to go open in midfield, personally. I know what you mean. I think if we played that way and went and won 3 or 4-0, fair enough, but we don't score a lot of goals. So I think you've got to stick with the safer and more conservative approach, sadly. That's what I think.
Two things. Bristol Rovers are so bad at playing the party pooper, they forget to RSVP to these events. And secondly...
They did in December, though, because we didn't kill them off.
They did. I feel like we sort of set off the alarm at our own party there in a weird way. We shot ourselves in the foot big time there, and I got soaked, so I'm trying to blank that one out of my memory. Secondly, so you're telling me you're just running the same team back out that played against Wigan, and just
I would
just
do,
saying,
yeah. Do you want to know why? Because that'll be the team we play at Blackpool and the team we play against Charlton, and probably the team we play against Lincoln. If you go into those 2 games, you're looking at an away game against Blackpool and then a home game against Charlton, which is massive. The lineup we saw at Wigan will be the one Parky chooses. Maybe Barney for Longman's the only switch in there, but I just can't see him changing it. So I don't know why you'd almost change the team for one match if you know that by Monday we'll be back to it.
I can definitely see that argument for sure. But
doesn't mean I agree with it.
No.
I just think that's what I think will happen.
Right, and you will probably be proven right out of the two of us here. But Rodriguez, Matty James, Longman and McLean, those are positions I don't think are locked down. I think the back 3 is set. You're not going to change that. You're not going to change the goalkeeper. You're not going to change Sam Smith. You're going to have one or James or Dobson in there. You're not going to change Ollie Rathbone. My point being is that competition, for places is important. And while those players will probably suspect that they will be the ones picked, you never know. There are always twists in terms of a certain player might come up with a huge goal. Now, look, Paul Mullin was in the away end at Wigan. I don't suspect he'll kick a ball for us again this season or moving forward. I think it might be the end, unfortunately. But let's just say, a Marriott comes in or Mullen gets put back on them. You just never know the narratives that are still to be written for players. And I think just saying, right, well, that is going to be the team we're going to play for the next 4 games. Consistency, yes, but dare I say a slight bit of fatigue, complacency. I thought fatigue was definitely a factor. I thought some of those players looked pretty tired. And when you're going to play the double header, I know you're saying you go with both, but there are only a couple of days. There's players in there that are 34, 35 plus. I think you've got to be smart on Friday. Friday might be your one chance to try and freshen things up.
No, yeah, I fully get that, and I would like to see it. I'd love to see Paul Mullen come back and score a goal that gets Wrexham promoted. I would absolutely love that. It's just whether he feels he can do so. I mean, Parky will play the team you'd think that he can trust to get the job done. And again, hypothetically, without being too negative, is what if Parky plays the team I think we both want, and maybe he starts Lee instead of James, he starts Barney and Longman on the wings. I think he'll go Rodriguez Smith. I don't think you can't really. I know you can make an argument to switch it up, but he doesn't do it. Some fans would say, "Hey, play Smith and Fletcher from the start." Say he plays that team, and then we don't beat Bristol Rovers. That's. I think the problem is you can't guarantee either team to get the result, can you?
I was going to say, play the same team and we don't have a shot on target again. He'll be absolutely, So I understand it's a difficult position to be in, and you don't want to turn your back on players that. I'm not even saying turn your back. It's one game. Blackpool's a different game, a different proposition, a much tougher one. Bristol Rovers is tough in its own right because they're scrapping away, and we've had big games against Yeovil at home when Anthony Ford scored that really emotional goal, and that was a huge night of importance to getting us up over the line. There have been games. Cambridge have been to the racecourse and hurt us in a way, getting the draw there. Burton came and. I mean, whether you think that was a penalty or not, that obviously the two run into each other, Smith and the goalkeeper, and that gets us on our way, and they were already down to 10 men. And there have been others, Stevenage came, etc., etc. So you can always look back and play the expert with the benefit of hindsight. But I think anyone that watched that Wigan game would look and see some of those players are a bit fatigued. 2 games in a couple of days now. We need to be sensible, because fatigue leads to injuries, and injuries, are very, very costly. So, look, to underline all my Rich-esque pessimism there, I would say go for it on Friday. Try and blow the doors off a team that is, creaking on the edge of the cliff at risk of going down to League Two. They're in complete disarray, and don't give them a moment to settle and to unnerve the crowd. And, we'll both be there. It'll be a great occasion, I'm sure. But you and I both know that if Wrexham go a while without creating a chance, go a while without doing anything, and it's the same lineup, you just know how these things go. So I hope we make a quick start. I hope we set it alight. And, I just hope we have more to cheer than we did at Wigan.
Bristol Rovers are a team that plays sort of 4-5-1. They're very defensive. So like you said, maybe there is no argument to play free at the back and then James and Dobson. I would like to see the more proactive team. I'm sure everyone listening and who'll be watching on YouTube would like to see that as well. It's whether you think it will happen or not. Let us know in the comments, Rob Ryan Red on YouTube. Also get in touch, robryanred@gmail.com, and contact us on robryanred.com. But yeah, Nate, if I was going to put my bingo card for the weekend, it'll be that Wrexham aren't winning at half time. Jay Rodriguez is getting jeered, and the Conquest doesn't take his sort of goal kicks quick enough, and the fans are on our back. But hey ho, quick goal, another goal could really change it. And as well, like you said, if Wrexham took an early lead, I'm sure that would filter through at Wycombe as well, where they'd maybe feel more of a pressure and be aware of what's happening. So lots of twists, lots of turns, maybe not as many changes as we want to see this weekend.
Rich, a little bit of news away from the pitch then. Welcome to Wrexham. Back soon, May the 15th. hopefully it's an 8-episode season, I should say. Let's get the logistics out of the way. 8-episode season. You would imagine 45 to 60 minute in length. That's just me guessing based on previous seasons. I know at the very beginning it was loads and loads of episodes, and things have now been condensed, longer episodes and whatnot. I think there's a focus on Humphrey doing his marathon, and no doubt Fletcher, he was on the poster, McLean was on the poster, so maybe some of the quote-unquote golden oldies will get a decent showing of, what life is like in League One. Both of them have been at the highest level, etc. So I'm really excited for that. Who knows? You and I may make the edit. We shall see. We'll find out with you guys when we watch it. We don't know. But you're looking forward to it? Documentary again? I mean, it's quite funny, isn't it? How we got so much stick. We always get so much stick for the documentary. And then Birmingham go and announce their own one on Amazon.
Who would have thought it? Hey, if you can't beat them, join them. What, there was Cambridge United one that's been announced for
CBS, yeah.
Year as well. I mean, the cynic in me says there are too many football documentaries now. Of course, I'm going to watch the Wrexham one. Being a cynic, I prefer seeing failure in documentaries in a way. I love first season Welcome to Wrexham is great because there's so much optimism and then we fall flat. That is beautiful for me, and the sort of narrative of it is, perversely wonderful the way it unfolds, especially because what's happened now. Sunderland Till I Die still, the absolute, that's the standards bearer really for football documentaries. I like seeing just the chaos of it all. There's that QPR one. Did you ever watch the QPR one from back in the day?
I never did. Which is the one where is it the Leighton Orient documentary? You ever seen that one? Where yes. If no one's seen that, just search. Is it Colin Sitton? What's the name of the manager?
Yeah, I think so. That is incredible. That one.
There's a scene where he absolutely roasts the players in the changing room, which is iconic. If you've
when
never
a
seen
player
it.
gets sacked at half time of a game?
Yeah.
He basically he terminates a player's contract at half time of a match, which is incredible.
So good if you watch that. I was going to say, I think I've never really asked anybody, or asked it sort of on the podcast of what, I don't think I have, what people's sort of favourite sports documentary ever is in any sport. For me, it would be The Last Dance on the Chicago Bulls, Michael Jordan. I think that's phenomenally done. And I would also say probably my favourite sports film, just to segue quickly, would be The Damned United, starring Michael Sheen, about Leeds United, which is very, very good. I don't know, have you got any personal favourites, Rich, in the documentary or film genre?
I loved Free Solo, which is about... I'll actually Google it now. What's his name?
Cool Runnings I was going to put into the mix, so I thought that one was a little bit...
No, Free Solo is incredible. It's about this... rock climber. He's a solo climber, so basically he wants to become the first person to climb El Capitan in Yosemite, which is 900 meters, and he does it without any ropes.
Wow.
And yeah, that's incredible, just because of the mindset of those athletes, really, in terms of doing it. And I always kind of prefer, just in general now, more sort of independent sports documentaries. I think that some of them on the bigger platforms can be a bit too polished, require too much of a sign-off. Like the Man City one that I had to watch for work, atrocious. Having to watch Man United go over the treble again every 2 years, does my head in. Juventus one was not that good from what I remember.
The Dorking one's good, isn't it? Bunch of Amateurs. I think that's brilliant. I think that's
I just like the rawness of sport documentaries, really, and the insight into different people. Again, because my life is football, I maybe am a bit more cynical towards football's documentaries, just because that is everything I see. Where, like you said, Last Dance, I have zero interest in basketball. I'd actually say I don't like basketball at all, but I love The Last Dance. I'd like to watch like maybe The Quarterback or something on.
Yeah, they're great. Netflix. They're great, and we've gone around the houses to say that Welcome to Wrexham. This is why people like it so much. Honestly, when I did the interview with Tom, talking about the Australia trip, and he was telling me that his wife has no interest in football whatsoever, but loves the documentary and is eager to go to this game at Marvel Stadium. By the way, if you haven't listened to that, I'm sure you have, but if you haven't, it's on the channel. Gives you a bit more insight into the proposed plans for Wrexham to go to Australia this summer. But there is a buy-in with Wrexham where you can get to know about Arthur, who, God rest his soul, or one of the players, or Humphrey doing this marathon, and I'll be intrigued to see all of the behind-the-scenes stuff. Yes, there'll be little bits of of game footage and match action and fan cams and all those sorts of things that will piece together the narrative arc. But it will be about McLean. Maybe there is a bit out of that Birmingham game where McLean is getting, torrid abuse, and maybe they speak to him about that, or Fletcher, and you were supposed to retire, and now you're the main guy. I'm trying to think of other sort of really interesting narrative points. Anthony Ford coming back, the weekend just gone. Anthony Ford with Ryan Reynolds waiting for him. Little things that we've seen snippets just from the day-to-day social, but there'll be little bits and bobs, team talks and owner meetings and just stuff that I find really interesting and really accessible if you're not a diehard fan like we are day in, day out.
Again, that is my criticism of most football documentaries, is that it's all football. Football. Whereas if you watch Welcome to Wrexham, you've got the celebrity aspect and the humour from Rob and Ryan. You've then got the human interest stories from the community and from the players, and the rawness of what it's like to be particularly a lower league footballer, and the fact that you might be paid well, but you've still got to deal with some horrible issues off the pitch. Then you get the sporting element of it, and you get the rawness of Phil Parkinson and his team talks and all of that. It's gritty, and for me it just gives you a taster of every aspect you want to see. And there's the light and shade, and there's just brilliant human interest stories, and again the community in North Wales in general is just fundamental to all of it, and that's why I love Welcome to Wrexham. That's why I'm looking forward to the next series. Yes, it would be nice if Robert and Red featured again, but it's not. It's not about that whatsoever, and it is an honour, regardless, that when we look back in maybe 40 or 50 years, and we can watch it hopefully with our families, and be like, yeah, it's me and Nathan. Do you know what I mean? That is such a cool thing to be able to say that. So we're very grateful.
Yeah, we were in it. It was just the 1 week where I was off that made season 1. Right, Rich, people just want to know about the football, not about sport documentaries that we can yap about all in the off-season, maybe when we're in Melbourne, etc., etc. But Bristol Rovers, what can we expect? Well, this is out in the morning, but there will be a separate video with Bristol Live reporter Dan Hargreaves, who covers Bristol Rovers day in, day out. Unfortunately for him this season, it's not been much fun in those day in and day out. But you can find all the details exactly on them, the signings they've made, the alterations, where it's been going wrong in games for them, whether they will switch to a 3 at the back to mirror Wrexham this weekend. We shall see. But there is a separate video for that that's just more condensed, a 10, 12, 15-minute preview to make it more digestible. But Rich, come on, you can't see anything other than a Wrexham win, can you, this weekend?
No, I can't. And I want to make that devil's advocate play, but I do just think we've got the quality and the desire and the so much at stake to go and do so. I do think Blackpool on Monday will be a very difficult one. I wouldn't be surprised if we drew there. And that's not the end of the world if that happens, just because Wycombe will have to be flawless themselves to take advantage of that.
Bolton and Charlton they've got. Bolton and Charlton.
I'd rather have our fixtures, and that is just bluntly. You'd rather have the fixtures Wrexham have to play. So, yeah, I think we'll get the job done. I think we'll do it. And hopefully we can make it one of those days where we win 3 or 4-0 and there's no drama. You look at the Burton game, though. I know they had 10 men for so long and it made their job a bit easier because they literally only had the purpose to nullify us, to stop us playing. Bristol Rovers will, you expect to have the full allocation on the pitch for all the match. So it might be a slightly more difficult test there to balance attack and still be sensible defensively. But we've kept so many clean sheets. There's a reason we are where we are, and there's a reason they are where they are. You need to respect your opponent. You can't be too cocky and overconfident, but you've got to acknowledge that we are a very good football team. We're a team that is 4 games away from the Championship. If we win every game, we will be there. And yeah, to go and renege on what I said previously, whatever team Parky chooses on Friday will be the right team because Parky chose it, and he knows better than all of us.
For sure.
And we just need to go there. And I know it's very difficult to be sort of happy clappy in the moment, but we've got to just support them. We've got to get them over the line. They've done us so proud this season. They've exceeded expectation. They are on the brink of history, back to back to back, 3 in a row. we've we've got to believe that it can happen. And yeah, I've got full faith that we'll win on Friday.
We've had some sort of Freaky Friday this week where you're now the one who gets to issue the rallying cry. I would say Parky knows this as well, as do all the staff. It has been those teams down at the bottom that have given us plenty of headaches. Shrewsbury away from home, Cambridge home and away. Burton, until we got the penalty, was a real sort of nightmare one. Wigan caused us an issue. I'm trying to think who else is down there. But there have been teams near the bottom that have given us problems. And I just think if you can go and overwhelm them early, it could be, a day for the ages at the racecourse. It's a great occasion. It's Easter. Everyone's in a good mood. The chocolate Easter eggs are going around. The sort of Easter lunches are in preparation. The pubs are going to be full. Everyone's getting very, very excited at the prospect of an historic occasion in what will only be a couple of weeks away now. Either way, either we go up automatically or we end up in the playoffs. Stockport are starting to believe again. They're only 5 points behind. Got decent
but that's
fixtures.
Brilliant for us because they've got Wycombe on the last day, and we almost need Stockport to be in the mix, don't we? And not having dead rubber on the last day.
They're doing what we did in that National League, where you're just ascending, and you might get very, very close to the point where you believe it. Charlton, we shall see what they do this weekend. They arguably need to win all of their games, including beating Wycombe, and they need us to drop even more points. So it's still alive, we're still alive, and we're the one with the remote to control our own destiny. So let's see. I'm still confident. I'm not supremely confident. I can't be after watching the Wigan game, but I am confident. If I had to put money on it now, I would say that we will finish second, and I hope that we show exactly why I'm so confident on Friday.
We are the resurrection. And hopefully, Nate, if I can sing that song I was chanting at Wigan on Friday that I could never... That was, it wasn't justified by full time, but I was giddy on the way to Wigan, everyone. I got very excited. Basically, I made a remix of the Stephen Fletcher chant, which I know will get criticised by everyone who listens to this podcast saying it's crap. I actually think it's quite good. Basically, it goes... Follow, follow, follow. Wrexham FC's the team to follow. There'll be thousands of Reds and we'll be pissed out our heads because we're going to do 3 in a row. Yes, I am available for weddings. Any event you want a singer at, I can be there. But I think that's a good chant. Do you not?
I'm gonna leave it up to the people to decide in the YouTube comment. Okay. Yeah. I think that's just better, isn't it? It's just better.
Yeah, I've got a feeling that could become an Instagram reel. If it is, please don't have me singing as the video. I don't think I could bear to watch that. But yeah, we'll see. We'll do a lyrics version, karaoke for all of you at home to join in. Nath, Blackpool as well on Monday. Again, there could be a separate video later in the week, this weekend for that one. That's in the works. We can't guarantee it, but there's a potential that on Saturday or Sunday we release a bespoke Blackpool preview of one of their podcasts. I mean, it's very difficult to talk about that before Friday because we don't know what's happened. But
totally,
just because of the nature of the two matches being so close together, do you expect it to be the same team for both games? Deep down, or do you think there will have to be rotation?
Got to. I cannot believe that they're just going to run out the same team twice after looking so tired against Wigan. I just can't see it. I think there'll be a couple of alterations. There's no reason to not have Barney play or start one of those games. There's no reason not to. He's top assist maker in the league, and I don't think he needs to be back up in both. Of course, you're going to get Sam Smith. Do you have to run Jay Rodriguez out for both? Probably you will, but I don't know. I'd be optimistic to change things around. And let's see. I would make changes for Friday and Monday. The context could be so different. If we win on Friday and Wycombe drop points, then suddenly a point at Blackpool looks very good. If we draw and then suddenly it's not going to alter the selection, I get that, but it's inevitable that the context will matter to the mindset. Human beings, it's inevitable.
Yeah, you've got to just focus on yourself. What I was going to say to you there is, if you are saying that Rodriguez potentially should be rested from the start for one of those matches, who comes in? Because we know Stephen Fletcher as a starter doesn't quite work. Marriott and Smith might not work because it's not quite the little and large that Palmer and Mullen was, just because Smith's quite mobile himself. He runs the channels. He's kind of that hybrid striker anyway.
Get Rob Ryan Red sponsored Mo Farl in there. Get him in. Scored in the reserves. He's just a bit of a live wire, isn't he? No, I don't know. I think you could personally run Marriott and Smith, because whoever that second one is dropping a bit deeper anyway, and is sort of going into the midfield, almost like when we had Elliot Lee as the second sort of forward, that people didn't really like that, and he was dropping a lot deeper off Palmer. I know Smith's not quite the same big man, but I just think you need to freshen it up. But what do I know? Phil Parkinson knows a lot more than me and my takes, so I'm going to trust in him, and I just hope whatever team he picks gets the result. That's all I care about now. I don't care who's wearing 1 to 11. I just want us to win, and I think we will on Friday.
Okay, Nate, final time. Then, like we said, the next time we record this podcast,
Two to
Wrexham
go.
could be promoted to the Championship. That is a fact. That's not being cocky. That is an actual fact. Wrexham could be promoted. Could also, be quite far. Could be out of the picture almost. How many points will we get over the next 2 games?
I've got to come on and just give uber positivity, haven't I, and say 6. But part of me wants to say 3, but I don't want to manifest anything of the sort. So I'm going to say 6. I'm going to try and manifest 6 because I don't think it'll be done and dusted by the time we record again. I think it'll all be going. It'll still be live with 2 games to go. As I said, I think Wycombe will beat Bolton on Friday. And I think I'm going to stick with what I said. Bolton to lose to Wycombe, and Wycombe to draw with Charlton on Monday. And then we'll be, 4 ahead with... If we win both of ours, we'll be 4 ahead with 2 games to go.
And one more would do it then?
One more would do it. It's nerve-wracking, isn't it? Nail-biting.
So many permutations. I'm going for the Andre Arshavin 4 at Anfield. We will see what happens, though. Thank you so much for joining us, as always, on Rob, Ryan, Red. Thank you very much to all of you listening, wherever you are in the world. Please do subscribe over on YouTube, on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to the podcast. Give us a rating as well, if you'd be so kind. It really does help give something back to us. Thank you very much to Red 10 People Development, not just because they're treating myself and Nathan to a Good Friday lunch this week. That will be a real treat if we go and win as well after that one. And thank you to Wrexham-based band Hypnotic for the music, the stings we use in the show. Take care, wherever you are. Come on, Wrexham. 2 wins could be enough. We'll see you again next time.
The Wrexham AFC podcast with Nathan Salt and Rich Bay.